Well, hi there. Igor Pechkovskyi is here with Woodinville, Bellevue Comments, your trusted real estate advisor on the east side and Seattle metro area. And in today's video, this is the final video for today, we'll be talking about rentals. Rentals is a hot topic and I get asked about it a lot. So I think we'll cover a few things. One, why you might consider buying a rental. What are the Seattle regulations? We'll pause specifically on Seattle. If you saw some other videos, I'm talking every time that Seattle market is less cool, and part of it is regulations and Seattle politics. But besides the Seattle regulations, we'll wrap up what are the overall market is doing outside of Seattle, what are the numbers, and I think you should enjoy this video. Please like, subscribe, let me know how we're doing, and let's just dive right into it. So what are the three most common things I hear about someone buying a rental that people come to me and say? So you either bought a primary residence and you might be looking to, you saved up some money to buy a rental, right? That's number one. Two, you might buy a primary residence and you actually are considering buying another primary residence, and you don't know if you should keep this property as a rental or selling it, but I always recommend probably keep it as a rental. Our market is doing so well. And three, you might be an out-of-state investor curious about our numbers, and we'll answer all of this in this report. So those are primary reasons of why people ask me about rental market. And let me cover one reason specific. If you just bought a primary residence, the rule of thumb is that you might haven't heard about it. You can buy another property and you will be first-time home buyer. Once again, you can do it only twice, right? So the second property you buy, you can get still a primary residence interest rate, which a lot of times it's about 0.5% to 0.7% lower than investor rate to just buy a rental. So you get a better interest rate if you're moving into that property. If you get a lease on your current residence that covers, your mortgage payment, you're good to go. So if you bought recently, you can buy another property. Being the first-time home buyer again, you get a low 5% down conventional loan, and you are getting the lowest interest rate. Once again, absolutely makes sense. If you didn't understand anything but sounds exciting, call me, I'll explain once again, or watch this video once again. All right, let's dive into it. So friends, before we talk about the market for rentals, let's just talk about regulations, right? So regulations is a big piece why the Seattle market in particular is a little bit slower, right? There was a lot of new inventory just for the fact that we got I have 4 pages of new regulations that just came in recent years. And if you learn one thing, I highly advise you to use a professional property management company to manage your rentals if you consider renting, especially in Seattle, all right? So we're gonna focus right now on Seattle. Me personally, I don't manage rentals, even that my license allow me to. I don't even wanna know this thick book of laws that has to do with Landlord-Tenant Management Act, right? So there are separate management companies, and this report is provided to us by Laura Gill and Associates. It's a Windermere arm to manage properties. So go get professional helps, and I'll explain you right now why you want to work with professionals. Let's dive into my top picks of regulations to manage rentals in Seattle. So let's go. Number one, effective July 2022, relocation assistance for 10% plus increase. So if you're a landlord in Seattle and you decided that you want to increase the rent by 10% plus, either maybe it was really undervalued or whatever. So you want to increase rent by 10+%. You're required to pay tenants a relocation assistance if they want to move for fee of 3 times the current monthly rent. Isn't it funny? So you have to pay 3 times the current monthly rent if you decide to increase rent by 10+% in the city of Seattle. So, and this applies for tenants at or below 80% of area median income. Yeah, so you do need to know that. Next one, rent increase 180-day notice. If you want to increase rent at all, even by 5% or 3%, you need to provide 180-day notice. First of all, you don't even know what's going to happen in 180 days. It's a really long, kind of time. Maybe tenant stays, maybe not, maybe you do want to increase, maybe not. But you need to know 180 days in advance and provide notice to the tenant if you want to increase rent, right? So in this report, there are a lot of notices. So dates, you have to be on top of it. If you're talking or even thinking about having the rental in Seattle, you need to know the dates for notices or you can easily get burned, right? Next one, and these two are big. Restriction on roommate limitation. Requires effective July 2020, requires landlords to allow persons that an existing tenant has a relationship with to establish residency with them. So let me read it again. Requires landlords to allow persons that an existing tenant has a relationship with to establish residency with them. So let's say you rented your apartment to a single woman, right? And you get on books one person for that apartment. And that person brings maybe not a boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever the situation is, to the tenancy. So you used to be like, well, that's two people, that's no good. Either you prorate for that person or that person cannot stay there, right? Because you rented it specifically to one person. Well, not anymore. In Seattle, you have to allow that, person to stay because now they have a relationship or whatever. So that's no good. Let's follow up on the last one that I said. Domestic violence relief. First of all, I'm not trying to have fun here. Just mark my words. Effective January 2020. Tenants experiencing domestic violence might not be held liable for damages caused by their abuser. A fund to compensate landlords' expenses incurred is set for an effective date of July 1, 2020. First of all, domestic violence is absolutely unacceptable. But let's assume you have this person, the single person that you rented an apartment for, bring their boyfriend or girlfriend into an apartment. First of all, now you have to allow two of them to live there. But domestic abuse starts happening in that apartment. First of all, they were not welcome to be in that apartment to start with. And now there is domestic abuse in that apartment and you cannot hold anyone liable for any damages. Either it's a man or woman or whatever. You just domestic abuse. This is it, which is, as I said, horrible. But if you run in a business and that place is absolutely trashed and the reason for it was domestic abuse, it's on you. And there are many examples like this. I don't want this, video to take forever. You got the point. Like, you need to work with a professional company to help you navigate all of those things. The bottom line is, the conclusion is, the book of rules just getting bigger and bigger. Those regulations do not die, right? Like, there are new and new regulations for Seattle. And Seattle specifically, so many notices, as I mentioned, like, you need to be on top of your notices. The dates had changed. It all must be in writing. It all must be professional. Security deposit payment plan. Tenants may pay security deposits or long-term leases in up to 3 months installments by request. It's good. It's good for tenants, right? To be flexibility. You as a landlord, you don't get a deposit all at once. You need to make sure that they pay you and, keep following up. It just complicated. It's a little bit harder. So that being said, all of these new regulations, they did influence the market for rentals in Seattle and overall. So let's see what did it do to the Seattle rental market and how other areas rental market is doing. During the COVID, we had a lot of eviction moratoriums across the country, and now we're kind of back to normal. There are still some local jurisdictions that continue their moratoriums into 2022, but most of them are gone. And however, if your tenants haven't paid over this time, you have to provide a long-term plan for them to pay off. That's probably one of the biggest things influencing the market right now. So all of the new regulations, especially in Seattle, by a report of Laura Gill's arm, we've seen an increased inventory in the city of Seattle. Like, their clients, the number of sellers that decided to sell their single family rentals in 2020 increased by 33%, and in 2021 increased by another 21%. That's why that market had more inventory and still has till today. So besides, all of the legal updates that I just shared with you, the rental market is still absolutely booming across the area. If you look at this slide here, the price per square foot is astonishing. Like, so blue one is Seattle, red one is East Side, North End is green, and South End check out the purple one for the south end. So first of all, if you look 18, 19, 20, 21, the east side and the north end, they increased, but they didn't increase as much as the south end because east side already was expensive for rentals, right? But look at the south end. The prices in Pierce County, they shot up significantly, 24.4% increase for the rental price per square foot in 2021. That's a lot. So that's the data for single family homes. The only place that could be a little bit of an outlier is the condo market in downtown Seattle. The next graph, check this out. So the rental market was pretty stable through 2017, 18, and 19. In 2020, it got a glimpse of hope, because the inventory was short, the rental market went up a little bit. But in 2021, it took an absolute dump. And in 2020, by the way, there were a lot of concessions, right? So they would give first, second months free in South Lake Union condos and apartments. So that boosted the market quite a bit. But in 2021, leasing activity for the same, it just dropped 39 and 27% for 2 bedrooms and 39% for 1 bedrooms. By comparison, the leasing activity for the same type of a property in Bellevue dropped only 7%. So Seattle and all of these regulations, just in a unique spot of places. I think it provides a good opportunity for you to buy a condo in downtown or to buy a prime residence, but might not be as good if you want to buy a rental and you want to increase rent significantly. And one more slide, compare single family and condo rental market 2021 compared to 2020 across the sub-market slide. So Seattle single family is still doing really good. The rents were expensive, guys. Like rents went up. I talked about it in a previous video. I do believe they will keep going up through the inflation in 2022, and they're pushing a lot of demand to get out of rental into purchase. But look, north end 6%, east side 6% on average, south end single family, south end which be Pierce County, Kent and so on, 23%, south end condo and multifamily 21%. Those are the places that are the hottest for the rental market in our area. But across the board, rentals are doing really, really good on rent, if you're looking to buy, of course. So what is the conclusion of this report? If you're looking to buy a property or you're looking to buy another maybe property for an investment or not the primary and keep your existing residence as a rental, I think you should. I do believe, unless it makes sense for you to sell, because the question is, what are you gonna do with the equity, right? If it's just gonna sit in your bank, 7% of inflation gonna eat a big chunk of it. You rather want it to have it either in whatever your strategy is, stocks, crypto, or real estate, right? Here we're talking about real estate. So I would rather have you that money being in that rental. You get a healthy amount of appreciation. The property in South End rent did really, really good. And across the region, our rental properties, the rents had been increased if you want to buy one of this. You just have to pay attention to regulations and you want to work. I understand, that paying 7-8% management fee for the single family home might not be attractive from your rent. But if it's in Seattle, it's kind of a must. Because you do hear, majority of rentals are doing just fine, but once in a while you hear, the horror stories like they didn't pay, I couldn't evict, and I couldn't do anything. So just protect yourself, be smart about your investment, and if you need any referrals on management companies, just reach out. This was Igor Pechkovskyi, Windermere Bellevue Comments, your trusted real estate professional on the East Side and Seattle market.